Alrighty, welcome to this new lesson. Let me refresh to show you what the end result of this video is going to be. So I'm going to refresh. Alright, so nothing too special here. We're using split type here like we did last video. We're applying it to a single pair or sentence rather. Now if I scroll down, this is where it gets a little more interesting, where we integrate some of the other stuff like scroll trigger in conjunction with the split type animation, which is very cool, very subtle. We can see that the image is kind of just floating up, nothing special there. This is split type here, and then nothing's happening here. Not everything has to have an animation. So I'm leaving 0.3 right there, and it all works here pretty well. Very cool effect. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The starting point for the before folder for this project just looks like this. So if I scroll down, we have smooth scroll, but we don't have any animation. So that's what we're going to be working on in this video. Alrighty, so this is what the HTML looks like. It's just 3 sections. They're pretty much copies of each other. Span element with 0, 0, 1, 2, and 3. We have a paragraph. We also have an image, and the images are in our folder 1, 2, and 3, .png and JPG, etc., etc. We also have GreenSock animation platform. We have scroll trigger. We also have Linus, and we have split type, all here in the CDN. And don't worry, in the future projects, we'll be importing this with NPM with a more robust project, but that takes time, so I don't want to do that for every one of these tiny little projects. The CSS, I'll let you take a look at that. At this point, there's nothing really crazy happening here. We have some responsive typography with clamp, and yeah, nothing exciting happening here essentially. Let's get started. So basically, the first thing that we want to do is, let me look at my reference code. We want to get all of the paragraphs, essentially. So paragraph here, and there's a bunch of different ways we could tackle this, but this way will work. So I'm going to say const texts plural equals gsap utils.toArray, and we're going to select all of the paragraphs inside of section with this code right here, this selector. Alternatively, you could give them each a class and just reference that. So you have options. So now what we do is we take our text, we do a for each, and then we reference each one of them. We don't need an index, so we could just say text here or call it whatever you want. The standard convention is to have a plural here if it's an array, and then when you iterate over them, you just do the singular version, so it's readable. So we'll open this up so that we can declare some code for each one of these. It's going to find 3 because that's how many paragraph elements that we have. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to also get access to the nearest image element that it finds for each paragraph. So there's a method that you can use in vanilla JavaScript that will allow you to do that, and that's called next element sibling. So what we do is say const image text. Again, we're referencing this one, and then we say next element sibling. So when it iterates over this 3 times, because there's 3 of them, each one of these image elements is going to be the adjacent image element for each one that it finds. So it finds the paragraph here, and then img equals this one right here, 1.png. Hopefully you understand that. It's pretty straightforward. Then we're going to do our split type. So const split type, I guess we'll say, equals new split type text. So this is the text element. It's a paragraph element, and that's how split type works. Okay, once we have that, we're going to create a timeline. So const timeline equals gsap.timeline, scroll trigger. And inside of scroll trigger, the trigger element is going to be text itself. Again, this element right here. We're going to have a start of top. We'll do 80%. We'll do end, bottom. And again, you can experiment with these values greatly. All right, or just say center here. And then we can also put in toggle actions to play, none, and reverse. Okay. After that, and we're also going to experiment. I'll show you some things about using scrub for these, which you completely can. And now outside of that, we can create our first tween. tween. There we go. So we split type splitType.js because we want to animate at the character level. So now what we say is let's do a duration of 1. Let's do a y of 50, an opacity of 0. So these are little values where it's coming from. We're going to do a stagger. Now the stagger is going to be really, a tiny amount of time because each character has to come in. So you don't want people waiting too long. We're going to have ease, power to out. And I think that's pretty good. Let's save that. And let's look at what happens. So refresh. Okay. Very nice. It's a really cool effect. It's very smooth. Come back down with our toggle actions, which ensures it'll replay. And there you go. All right, so now we just have to move the image up. So we have a separate from. So let's take this, tab it in. We'll go from. We'll say img. And then we just say opacity, in this case 0, y 100, duration 2. And again, you could do all sorts of cool stuff. Like you can animate like a clip path like we learned in another one where you can really make it much more interesting than just opacity 0 and y 100. So just to let you know that, that you have that option. And we want these to start at the same time. So in the third parameter, we're just going to use the less than sign, which means that it's going to start at the same time right here. So we'll save that. And there we go. It just fades in and kind of moves up. Now, I may not want to do Y100 be here because it has a weird this last one has a weird issue. We could try doing this. Let's just put an empty section because all of them are going to be 100 viewport height. So let's see what happens after this if we run into that issue where that last one was kind of doing some type of weird thing. Yeah, that's because it was just hitting the bottom of the viewport and it was kind of creating a weird animation. So let's try real quickly just turning this into a scrub. We'll just put 2 for 2 seconds. It'll take 2 seconds for the animation to reach. And in fact, I'm not sure if I explained that enough previously. So I'm just gonna put scrub true, which means there's gonna be no lag. So we go like, watch this. If I move this, it's like it instantly stops based on your scroll. So if I set this to 2 or 1 or something, and I do that same thing, you'll see that it takes 2 seconds for it to finally stop. So it's all up to you. For me, I think scrub could work with this fine. The only problem is from a UX perspective, if somebody stops like right here and they're not certain that, or they're unsure of like how to get this because maybe they're not scrolling, they don't understand that it's tied to scroll position, it's probably not a good idea to put scrub on type. I think I mentioned that before as well. So what I would do honestly is just to turn that off or just remove it as it's disabled by default. And that way your type will always come in as is necessary. Great stuff.